Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Zoe Hawkins, and my friend and co-host Jo Wheatley.
Hi, everybody. We're here to talk to you today about the foundations of group and team coaching. Group and team coaching is a fantastic way to add an additional income stream into your coaching business if you're working yourself as a coach. And if you're an internal coach, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be asked to facilitate or design and facilitate group coaching or team coaching workshops or events. And so we thought we'd talk you through the foundations of that today. And also because we are really excited to launch our very own Foundations of Group and Team Coaching program. So we're going to talk you through our approach to that, some of the ways that we prepare ourselves for that kind of work, what we enjoy about it, and what we're going to be bringing in the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think group and team coaching is something that reaches out to learning and development professionals as well as coaches. Sometimes you train as a coach and then you go on to do group and team work, but often you find yourself in a role where you're facilitating team workshops, team days, supporting groups in organizations, and then you go on to train as a coach. So we've certainly built our program in mind with all of the breadth of roles that span group and teamwork, because we do believe there is a continuum, much like a continuum of coaching and mentoring. There is a continuum around group and teamwork and where you sort of enter into that work, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's surprising, I think, how little there is out there about group coaching. There's no group coaching, like competency frameworks. It focuses very much, the awarding bodies focus very much around team stuff. And although that is still new, the competency frameworks and the accreditation that you can get around that. So we wanted to add a little bit into the field around group coaching. And I love working with groups, or we love working with groups. We do that in lots of different ways. I love the dynamic and the energy and the complexity of working with groups, whether they are groups of private individuals that have come together to work on a particular topic, whether that's about career progression, but could be around another topic, for example, grief and loss, or it could be around parenting aspects. There's all sorts of things that group coaching can support with, and also supporting teams. Often, teams trying to work through a degree of tension or conflict either in the team, or maybe it's underperforming, or maybe it's a team that's seen as high potential and actually there's a desire to really accelerate and invest in teams. Or think about a startup situation where it may be quite chaotic and there's a desire to to bring a little bit more process and flow into things. So there are lots of reasons that groups come together and teams want to invest in this kind of work. But as we're talking about it, you can see how it can just feel a bit big. So the idea of bringing it together in a program is to demystify, break it down into bite-sized chunks, and to give some scaffolding in terms of how you might approach the design and facilitation of group and team coaching work.
Yeah. And one of the core pieces, I think, before you even get started in group and teamwork is actually understanding the difference, because group coaching and team coaching are very different things. Facilitating workshops is very different to group coaching and very different to team coaching. So there is, as I said earlier, that continuum of how the work unfolds. And so really understanding what is it that I'm getting into? How does this work need to be? How do I need to be within this work? And as you said there, Jo, like looking at the competencies. So obviously you have your competency frameworks for one-to-one coaching, but what are some of the competencies and skills that you might want to develop as a team coach? You mentioned there the complexity of teams, and teams and groups, and this work is hugely complex. Like the psychodynamics that you get in a one-to-one session, as we know, can be complicated. But when you bring a bundle of humans together with all of their own thoughts and energies going on, group dynamics is complex. So really starting out with what are the skills that I want to grow and develop as a group or team coach, and what is it that I'm doing with the work is one of the starting points. It's certainly in our program.
Yeah, so we start off with that introduction to group and team coaching. So covering some of the definitions, the boundaries, the blurring of boundaries, the competency frameworks, the core skills. And the aim with that really is to, obviously orientate people to the training, and to put those foundational pieces in place and make sure that everybody's on the same page. And we're excited about the orientation call, which actually takes place before we start drip feeding the content, because that's an opportunity to bring people together and start to create that sense of community and support for one another. And then we move into what we call a 5 phases of group and team coaching. And we're using the word or the acronym GROUP. So we start off with the G, which we're calling about grounding and gathering. So that's thinking about how you as the coach grounds yourself into that work. How do you connect with what you're feeling called to do in group and team coaching? And how will the way you approach that work, the way you show up and facilitate and create those environments contribute to something much larger in the world? And we think that's a really important part of getting grounded into the work. And we believe that particularly when you're doing group coaching, that, you know, the group starts forming before everybody meets each other. So thinking about your role in that and how you carefully curate that. Slightly different if you're with a team, because with the team, you're sort of being invited into their territory. So again, how do you ground yourself thinking about that dynamic? And even who is it that reached out to you in the first place for the work? Is it somebody from HR that's not in the team? Is it the team leader? How do all these dynamics inform what you do? Do you meet with each of the individuals if you're working with the team beforehand? All of those kind of both psychological and practical elements to it. And then you've got the gathering, and that obviously involves everything, including how you then start to onboard people into the group or the team coaching context. So all of the modules are very much like with all of the things we do, a blend of theory, context setting, followed by practical activities. And each of the 5 stages will have 2 different coaching activities that you can download and use in the work that you do with groups and teams.
I think the way I summarize that first phase of grounding and gathering is about setting yourself and the group or team up for success within the work. So that's, you know, it's a really important start out to the work that you do. So after grounding and gathering, we move on into roles and rituals, which is the R of the group acronym. And roles and rituals is about considering your own role within the team, and whilst you are somewhat the center of the work, you also don't want to be the center of the work. You need to sort of be able to come into the background and let the group and team almost take the lead of the work and do their work. So we talk about the role of the group and team coach, and we also look at what are the roles that take place within a group or team, or what are the roles that are needed? What are some of the hidden roles that are present that are affecting the dynamics of the team? So we talk about theory and the practicals of that. And we also start to look at rituals. And rituals are things, I suppose you could think of it as like the culture of your group and team. Like, how does the group and team form? How do they come together? How do you create safety? And one of the ways that you can do that is through creating that common feeling of like, oh, when we're in this group, these things happen. When we're in this group, this is how we are together. So it will cover things like contracting, as you'd expect to see, but also extend out the fundamentals of contracting into some of these subtleties around rituals.
I think rituals is really important when it comes to building intimacy quickly with a group of people. It creates that sense of belonging, that sense of group identity, shared experience. And people, you know, if you think about the group coaching context, tend to come to group coaching because they feel that they can't solve or progress in the way that they want to with something, an outcome that they are looking for. So they can't do it on their own, and they're seeking that in the group environment. And so the fundamentals around intimacy and trust and all of those things that rituals and clear roles can help to create very quickly is really important. And we know when it comes to roles that people can get tired of roles, or I've certainly been in, you know, group or a team context where people might look to me to play a certain role that I actually really don't want to play. You know, maybe I play that in lots of other spaces, and actually I really wanted to show up in this space with a different part of my personality, you know, contributing in a different way. And so, you know, the intelligence of the group and team coach to have knowledge and experience about how to, as you were saying, Zoe, like flow with what's emerging in the group, but also being able to be that person that can really set the group up for success, drawing on their experience, is really important. And so we've really tried to, curate these modules in a very thoughtful way to support you as the coach with your own individual style as a coach, and be able to stimulate you to really develop your one-to-one approach into a way that when you're working with groups and teams feels authentic to you, but also equips you with the new dynamics, and also to enjoy it. We really, as coaches, we want to enjoy the work that we do, and people feel from us, our experience within the group. So that's the G and the R. The O is really where we start to look at orientating people to the group and team coaching experience, and we look at the opportunities for how to develop and really get on and do the work, make the progress towards the purpose of the group or the team coaching experience. And so we talk in there about the different formats, the different ways that you can facilitate those experiences, some of the practicalities around things. So we share with you activities in that space to really navigate whatever it is that might come up at different points, and we'll share with you some of the things, some of the challenges that we think might occur, and some of the ways that you can navigate those. So how you can draw on a whole range of coaching tools to ensure that every group and team experience is different and feels true to the outcome that the group are looking to achieve.
I mean, ultimately, that module is around how do you design the content, isn't it? And
Yeah.
we look at different models. We look at a prescriptive model, we look at an emergent model, and really help you as the group or team coach to be able to confidently design group experiences that are going to meet the needs of the people that you bring together. So a really practical module, but also you'll find some theory in there as well. So after this one, which is about options and opportunity for the work, we move into union and understanding. And this for us is a really special module because we're bringing in elements of our work from our emotions coaching practitioner training. And we're looking at group dynamics here through the lens of the 6 principles of emotions. So this particular model is packed again with theory and practice around the complexity of the relationships that emerge within groups and teams. So we'll explore the different challenges that emerge. We'll explore strategies for how you work with them. And emotions are a centerpiece that run through this particular module. So if you've done the emotions coaching practitioner training, you're going to love the link and be able to claw in the work that you've done as an emotions coaching practitioner. And if you haven't done it yet, this is going to give you a real flavor of the value and importance of working with emotions, particularly in a group or team space.
Yeah, I love this module because it's kind of the heart of the work as a group and a team coach. And you can think about everything from group think to what about when let's say a team member leaves during the course of the team coaching. Like how do you deal with that dynamic? What about when somebody gets up and walks out of the room and says, I've had enough of this, like I don't really think we're getting anywhere? Or what about if the team recruits a new member to the team, it's growing and they recruit them? What do you do? How do you welcome those individuals in? What about when you've got a group that you've curated, so individuals that didn't know each other before, and obvious things like you've got one member who's very vocal and likes to share a lot, is also very supportive of other members of the group. How do you manage that so that you ensure that every member of the group has a voice, that all of the voices are brought in? But even though you may have some members that say, I don't want to be picked on to speak, like I'll contribute when I'm ready, but you're feeling like, oh, the balance in here just doesn't, so how do you support the group to be able to notice what's happening and share? And when do you lean in as the group and team coach, and when do you lean out? How do you manage your energy and the group's energy? And as you know from Zoe and I, we don't really approach things from a right or a wrong. But what we'll do is like equip you with different tools and strategies that you can, adopt or draw from when you find yourself in those situations. And also, what about if you apply one of those things and it doesn't quite land or it doesn't get the outcome that you want? How do you use that to create a valuable learning opportunity for the group. And really, that also goes back to how you enable yourself as the group and team coach to stay grounded and not go down a rabbit hole of, oh my God, I can't do this. I've messed up here. I think this is irretrievable. I don't really, if I'm really honest, want to continue with this. Like all those kind of, little internal narratives that, yes, even coaches can experience, whether you're, embracing a new type of coaching, group and team coaching in your work, or maybe you're even a bit more seasoned and still you have those moments where, something new happens or that's happening. So we get into all of the juice of that really in that particular one.
And we've also got inclusion at the heart of the program. So that runs as a thread through, but you'll see it more in certain modules than others, where we do talk about inclusion and some of the subtleties around making sure all those voices are heard and how do you do that respectfully. So, where diversity inclusion is an important agenda in many organizations, and also, through the work that you may do as an independent coach, you're going to feel equipped to handle those dynamics as well.
The final section is the P, which is for presence and progress. And I think presence is really important because life can be so fast. And before you know it, the group or the team could be at their final session. And we know from our experience, people often don't feel ready for it to be the final session. And as coaches doing one-to-one work, I'm sure you've had that experience and feedback from your clients as well. So presence is really that kind of cue to slow down, to draw the group's attention into their individual experience of having been part of the group. What is the transformation that they've experienced personally, but also looking at the group as an entity in its own right, and what is present in that group at that point. So it's part of that closing arc, that closing gestalt, what has been is drawing to an end, and what is it evolving into, and what is the energy for what's to come next. And that, of course, is the progress. It's about not only reflecting on the progress that has been made individually and by the group or the team, but also about future pacing, applying that learning externally. Now, they will have been doing that in between the sessions that you've had, but it's thinking about their life and progress with the content and the impact of the work without the container of the regular sessions that occur. So we give you some very practical activities there, but also just some more of the psychological dimensions around how to handle that, really what is a very critical phase in terms of modeling, actually, in many ways, because in life and in work outside of these, group and team coaching spaces, we're in a continual cycle of beginnings and endings and transitions. And it is highly likely that some of the challenges that the groups and teams are facing are hooked upon some challenges that they may experience in those places. So yeah, we've loved designing that module too.
And whilst that is the final phase of the group and team coaching, it's not the final phase of the program, because I think what makes our course very special is we recognize that there are two very other important elements. And one is about business. So that's with the commercial hat on for independent coaches who want to add group and teamwork into their portfolio. How do you bring your group to life? So how do you, curate that group, those group members together, launch and sell a group program? So we're providing a business module there for independent coaches. And the other piece we're providing is around the mindset. So when Jo was talking about the dynamics, she alluded to some of the challenges. And I think it's really worth emphasizing that group and teamwork can be really triggering on a personal level, because you're in a space with so many other people and that energy is transferring between one person and the next and between group members. And it's very easy to have to come face to face with your own challenges when you're facilitating group and teamwork. So we're providing a module on the mindset for a group and team coach to help you to really ground into the space as a group and team coach and feel prepared and ready to step into those environments with the complexity of the dynamics that will always be flowing through groups and teams. It's really invigorating and exciting work as well. And it's important to nurture your own mindset when you do this particular work. So we believe this is a really full program. And even though it is a foundation level program, we have packed it full of both value, practicalities, theory, coaching activities, business and the mindset. It's going to be a brilliant, fun course to do.
And you haven't even mentioned that they get lifetime access to our Coaching Crowd Business Lounge, which is a whole other curated library of expert speaker sessions. It's kind of a plus, plus, plus. We always design things that we would have liked to have done at particular stages in our career. And we very much created this because of the interest and the requests that we've had over the last few years. Please, 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 will you design something around group and team coaching? So we're really pleased to have been able to have created something that can meet that need. And seeing all the bookings coming in tells us that yes, we've created, what people wanted. So it's always a nervous and exciting phase when you launch something new into the world. But if you've been thinking about group and team coaching, or you've been doing it and you think, I really want to check out the ethics around this and I want to develop my competency in this area, then it's absolutely for you. And if you're just finishing your initial coach training, you think, is it too early? No, it's exactly the right time. Get all of that CPD, get into the practice of doing CPD, but also as you're developing your business, this is going to give you more opportunities and ways to do it. And when Zoe and I were in HR and learning and development, designing and facilitating groups, we'd have loved to have had access to a program that we can do self-guided, self-directed. So all of the modules come into your inbox, over an 8-week period. And then there are some integration sessions to attend, which is really an opportunity for Q&A with Zoe and I, drawing on our experience, drawing on the wisdom of the cohort that you're in. So if you're already running and facilitating those groups, you can bring like a case study, with anonymity, obviously, and share with us some of the challenges, and we can explore those together. So we're looking forward to meeting you all.
Yeah. We also have an early bird offer on this program because it's the first time we've launched it. So up until the 1st of March, you can access this program just for £750. The price will increase thereafter to £1,000. So do jump in now when you can benefit from that early bird price. And you can find all of the details at www.igcompany.co.uk/group.